turn to you, like, just general remarks. And then if you want to, like, turn over to the video, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should say it because you want me to introduce the video. I set the mic down, then I gotta turn it on.
I can do it right now.
Yeah, I think.
Let's say we'll start with that.
Yeah, let me talk to him.
Is it a music video or is it like a...
It's a lyric video.
Okay.
Can you tell me exactly what you want to do for the video?
Are we looking at a specific camera? Or the one should have? You guys were live right now.
This one up here.
Okay.
On the screen here.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krista Aguila, and this is my fellow co-chair, Rain Odom. On behalf of the Chicago Bar Association Media and Entertainment Law Committee, we'd like to officially welcome you all to the first event of the year. We're really excited to be here at Rosa's Lounge in Logan Square. We really couldn't think of a better way to start the bar year off than here at Rosa's. I'd like to give a quick shout out and thanks to everyone who made this event possible. Marni, Willenson, Rosa, Billy, Tony, and especially John here, John Saffron. Thank you for your contributions to the committee for the past year and obviously in helping getting this event set up. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my co-chair, Rain Odom, for a few additional introductory remarks.
Yeah, thanks. So we're gonna check out Billy Branch's new release. We're gonna show a quick video debuting one of the songs that will be out next month in November, and we're gonna send some details in the Zoom. And then if you stick around, we'll get to talk with Billy towards the end of the event. So we hope you enjoyed the discussion, and thanks for coming.
Brother on the corner asks for something to eat. I look down and I see he's got no shoes on his feet. He says all my kids are hungry, my rent is past due. Brother, can I get a little change from you? Begging for change, begging for change. The whole world's begging for change, begging for change, begging for change. The whole world's begging for change.
The working class needed a raise, 'cause they can't make it on minimum wage. Politicians keeping a seat occupied, rich getting richer while the poor is denied.
Taught to hate, taught to divide, taught to keep the love locked up inside.
Just open your heart, let love come through.
Break down these walls between me and you. There's some bad news on the corner, hustling the beat. Sisters and her babies with nothing to eat. The same old game with an invisible rope, hanging from hope, hooked on dope.
Begging for change,
Begging
All right, thank you. My name is Ariel. I am the reporter for Logan Square, Avondale, and Humboldt Park for Block Club Chicago. I'll be kicking things off here for this event. And I think the first thing I want to start with is a brief history and little introduction of Rosa's Lounge for folks tuning in who might not know about Rosa's. So I'm going to kick that to Tony to get that going.
Okay. It totally depends on how far back you want to go.
That's true.
Okay. Do we have to go back to Italy or?
I do. I want to go back to Italy. That's where I'm from. But yeah, how much you want to share is fine.
Well, as a young student, I got introduced to blues, and I related to blues a lot. And meeting Junior Wells and Buddy Guy back in one of the concerts, they told me if you want to play the blues, then you have to come to Chicago. So I came with a Junior Wells address and Teresa's Lounge address, and which Teresa's was one of the mother blues clubs in the city of Chicago. So I came in, and my very first environment was Teresa's Lounge. And there I met John Primer, Billy Branch. I met, of course, Teresa knew exactly why I was there. And actually I started playing at Teresa's Lounge. So from there, I wanted to stay as long as possible, because that was the first time I got a compliment on my drumming as a musician. So I wanted to really stay as long as possible, and to a point where here I was for about a year, and then Mama Rosa, my mother, came to kind of check out what I was doing. And when she came, she also saw the opportunity of being here, and she said, if you want to stay, we have to open a business. And that's how it came to be at Rosa's Lounge.
And how old is Rosa's Lounge?
So now we are on our 42nd year, and Billy Branch, who's here today, was the very first band that performed here.
That's amazing. I love that. And my own small piece to this is I used to live down the street on Whipple, and I would come here before the pandemic and listen to some shows, and we've done several stories about Rosa's over the years at Block Club. So I also did a story about the new record label, which we'll be talking about today. So it's just nice to see a local institution like Rosa's be thriving in this community, and especially even more of my friends are like, let's go to Rosa's Lounge. I'm like, yes, let's go. Like, it's so important to support local businesses like that. So, Marni, you are our lawyer on the panel today, so we do want to get some of these questions more about the lawyer side to this new record label. I think a good place to start there is why you all decided to start this new venture, and then we can get to the legality part of it, but you obviously have a big reputation in Logan Square. Where did the transition and desire come to add a record label to the family, so to say?
Can I answer that?
Of course you can, Tony.
Because when it comes down to desire, okay, yes, this is a very old dream to be able to capture the music and the feel of the music and the real people behind the music that makes the music. So that's an old dream of mine. You know, in fact, if we go back, we always see me with some kind of camera, some kind of video camera, some, trying to capture the moment. And finally, with my wife here, she made this happen legally.
All right, tell us what he means by that.
Well, that's requires a long answer also. But so I think a lot of this goes back to COVID. So the club was closed for a full year because of COVID. We maybe could have opened up a little bit earlier with a lot of distance between people, but we talked about it and did not want to do that because it was exposing the musicians to a deadly disease. So we decided he would remain closed until a vaccine was available. And during that period, I worked with the deputy governor's office, and we got a regulatory guidance issued in the form of FAQs that allowed musicians to leave their homes. So this was guidance under the stay-at-home order. So now it seems like a long time ago, but we were all under an order not to leave our houses, except to do very limited things. And so we got an FAQ issued under the stay-at-home order that allowed musicians to leave their homes and businesses such as Rosa's to open their doors, to allow recordings to be made or live streams to be done. So not performance with public present, but to capture it and or live stream it. So Tony took some grant money and invested funds in upgrading the video equipment to be able to do these incredible live streams. And all the while this was happening, I was thinking, he's coming up with this huge library of these amazing performances. We should do something with that. I just sort of shelved it for a couple of years until I really started thinking through, well, do I want to continue with the law practice that I've had for, at that point, 25 to, now it's been almost 30 years, until I had an opportunity to sort of grab the reins and pivot. So that's what we're doing. I'm now able to spend some time focused on this, and we've launched the label. And although originally we were really focused on getting out into the world this incredible library of live performances that have been recorded, Billy Branch and his wife Rosa came to us with this potential opportunity to put out a studio album. And so that is our first release and what we're totally focused on at this time.
Okay, thank you. So you mentioned that you have a long background in your own law firm, and I know we talked about this for my article. So for starting this record label, how did you use your own law practice and applied it to some of the legal things that come up with starting a new record label?
So this was a complete pivot. I'm a civil rights litigation attorney. I do employment discrimination litigation, and that is, that's what I've done for 30 years. And I've had my own practice for the past 15 years, really focused on getting women into the fire department and representing other women in first responder jobs. So this is a complete pivot. But the most important thing to me is that the principles there are the same. That's what I'm trying to apply, is the social justice aspect that runs through my work and has been my lifelong commitment and the commitment of my entire career to achieving justice for people. We see this as an application of those same principles. And then I didn't realize it going in. I had the idea of this. I didn't realize what the need would be until I started investigating and getting involved in it. And then I said, wow, there's this whole industry here that has been very exploitative and continues to be exploitative. And can we do something entirely different?
Yeah, that's a good point. I know we've talked about how you were trying to do that differently, and we've talked about some of the copyright issues and learning more about copyright law, but what have you learned from the legal side throughout this process, and maybe some of the challenges that you all have overcome or come across with this pivot?
So as the lawyer involved in it, it really is focused on intellectual property. And that's where a lot of what I'm referring to as the exploitation has occurred, that the record labels take all the intellectual property rights from both the writers of the songs and the performing artists. And so we're doing that totally differently. I had to do a lot of work to investigate how royalty streams work because they're very complex, and most of the artists are not collecting all their royalties, or most of the artists that I like in this part of the industry where you have independent artists, independent blues artists who are responsible for their own careers, and they don't have managers who are, like super high level people at Sony or Universal, or people who have represented monstrous stars and would not let royalties go uncollected. It's very complicated to collect royalties, to keep track of what your royalties are supposed to be and collect them. So we've been really focused on those issues. As a lawyer, it's taken me a while to get my head around those issues. I think if I had been earlier in my career and thought about doing this, it would have been very intimidating, the idea of just, well, how am I going to shift from being a civil rights lawyer to being a music and entertainment lawyer and running a label. But I've been at this a very long time, and to be a civil rights litigator, and specifically in the area I practice, I had to learn statistics. I mean, I had to learn a lot of different things. So I'm not intimidated by it. It's just an issue of putting the time in to learn something new.
Yeah, well said. Tony, do you have anything that you want to say about that?
No. Just I'm happy that she's here.
That's great. That's great.
I will not be able to. I will not be able to absorb this kind of part of the business. There's no way.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I know we've talked a little bit about the lawyer side. I'm thinking about how this also helps elevate some more local indie musicians. I think that was a big part of what we discussed earlier too, as like a goal for this. So maybe from both of you, we can hear, obviously for you lawyers and having the like being aware of the intellectual property that we've talked about, but how do you see this from that side and the music side that can help elevate some of our local musicians or folks who don't have a big online presence?
I mean, I think we're an example, and I think just understanding what it is we're doing, so our model of business is completely different than what I've seen in any other recording contract I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot, because in order to do this, I had to do lots of CLEs about music law and copyright, and some stuff related to business organizations, but mostly on the intellectual property. I've seen many, many, many recording contracts, and they are not remotely like the contract we're using. And so we have licensing agreements. We're not going to take anybody's intellectual property. We're going to license it for a period of time that seems appropriate, in the sense that hopefully we can get our money back and make some money, make some profit, so we can keep going. But we're in a complete partnership with the musicians, and that's the idea. They're licensing their stuff to us. We're not taking what are called the publishing rights, which is the underlying songs. We're not taking those, and we're just doing a net profit deal. And it's just completely different. The feel of it is completely different. I mean, Billy and Roses are friends. I mean, they, as Tony said, Billy was the first person to play at Roses in 1984. So it just has a completely different feel, and I think that's a model, and I think word of mouth can help for artists to understand that there is another way of doing business. You don't just have to go to a record label and give everything up, and then, at best, maybe 35 years later, under contract grant termination law that is very narrow and hard to navigate, maybe you'll get your rights back. So I think that's part of it. And I also think there's an opportunity. I had in my mind when I started this that I would do seminars or presentations or invite artists to come and get information about how to get their royalties, how the royalty streams work. And I think there's an opportunity for people listening to this CLE to potentially do that. I don't have time right now, and I'm very focused on Billy Branch and getting the album, The Blues Is My Biography, released properly. But maybe in the future for me, or maybe for a lawyer who's listening today, I think that would be a great opportunity, and there'd be a huge audience for it.
Great, thank you. Tony, I want you to hit on this point about exposing exposing like more indie folks, more local musicians to this record label, and how you think that can do that, especially for some younger generations of music lovers.
I don't have no idea. But one thing is for sure, what I really care about is that the music becomes a true expression. And I would not be the one who's gonna have a record label where everything will sound filtered through me. I want it to be a true expression, and I want the artist to be proud of his own music. So that is what I really care about.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. I think that it would be good to hear from Mr. Billy Branch himself. Is that okay? Are we ready for that?
Well, is he here?
Is he here? Billy, are you here?
I'm here.
You're here. All right, wonderful.
Perfect.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you both so much. We'll do a little switcheroo. Yes, Rosa, please join us on stage as well.
Very nicely done. All right.
All right, good morning.
Money.
I get a
All
box.
right, how are you today?
Oh, fine. Thank
Fine.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think before I ask you some fun questions about this new project, I would love if you could just introduce yourself a little bit to the folks watching and the folks here in the audience. Whatever you would like to share about you and your career.
Okay, well, again, I'm Billy Branch, and here with my lovely wife, Rosa, and I'm the leader of my band, the Sons of Blues, which was originally formed in 1977. And although the personnel has changed, we pride ourselves on keeping the rich tradition of Chicago blues legacy alive. And as I like to say, we keep a foot in the past with an eye to the future. So we engage a lot of contemporary elements as well. And we have, as was mentioned, we're the first band to perform here at Rosa's Lounge 42 years ago. And we're very excited about this prospect of having the inaugural release on Rosa's Lounge Records. And we're still doing our thing.
That's beautiful. Rosa, what about you?
Well, I came into the game maybe 25, maybe 30 years ago, and have been a quiet support behind Billy. And in absence of other management, I began to take over the duties because he's been an independent artist connecting with various record labels for different projects. And it was time for him to get his business behind him and branding him and all of those sorts of things. So this is my new career. I was an educator with a specialty in cognitive development prior to this. So this is my last 20 plus year career.
Wow. Okay, thank you. So in terms of your new album and the Rosa's record label, what is the origin story for you in thinking, okay, this is your next step to be the first artist on this new label? And I know you had this idea to come to Marni and Tony about that.
Well, I self-produce, well, in a manner of speaking, this album. I worked with a producer out of Oakland who is very esteemed, worked with a lot of big names, Stevie Wonder and Santana. His name Larry Batiste. And he and I collaborated on this project, and it turned out we worked very well together. In my humble estimation, this is possibly the best product I've ever put out. And so we hadn't decided where it was going to go, which label, or are we going to release it just on ourselves and do the social media. But we had the conversation. And as you might imagine, a long-standing relationship with Tony and Marni as well. And we said, well, why not put it out on Rosa's Lounge Records? And we said, okay. and one of the attractions for us to make that decision was because, as Marni illustrated, in many instances, the artists are not privy to what they deserve in terms of compensation, in terms of royalties. There's all kinds of loopholes where historically record companies have not treated the artists fairly. And that goes not just, of course, in the blues industry, that's across the board with the major labels as well. And we have a relationship, business as well as a friendship relationship, as you might imagine. 42 years ago that I was on the stage opening up the club. So it made sense. And with Marni and Tony being sensitive, Tony being a musician himself, being sensitive to musicians' needs, it made it, it's an unusual fit, but it's a better fit. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Rosa, what about you? How did you play into this?
Well, I was in full support of this collaboration because it is more of a teamwork, joint responsibilities, and we feel like we're part of the decision making, which means there's more work on us as well, because when you give a project to a big label, they just scoop it up and make all the decisions regarding marketing and packaging and all of those sorts of things. And in this case, we've been part of all the decision making, and we just have complete confidence in the ethics and the value system that we share. And so we're very excited to be partnering with them.
I love that. And that reminds me, I'm going to ask you what I also asked them, which is, what have you learned throughout this process, since it does seem like it's a new venture for everybody involved? And maybe if there were any challenges that you overcame or things that are sticking with you. Billy, go ahead.
We learned a lot. Because as you imagine, this is their first venture and this is our first venture in this capacity. But of course, there's going to be errors and hiccups and bumps along the way. And, but that's part of the process. And again, it is refreshing to be involved in the process. I mean, things as minuscule as typos in the liner notes and then copyright issues on a song that we didn't know that, there's all these kind of things.
Your lawyer says, shh.
But, there's legal stuff. But there are, there's hurdles. There's things, and it's a learning process. But we're confident that in the long run that we made the right decision. At least it feels good. It feels good just to be involved in the decision-making process because, as Rosa said, traditionally, historically, that doesn't happen. The label does what they want to do in terms of advertising and, marketing, design, and we've had a voice in making those decisions.
Well, and we're of the older generation, we're well into our 70s. So social media is a slightly different animal for us, yet it is one of the biggest marketing arenas, and we've had to learn to get hip on that. So, not that we were absent on social media, we had some presence, but Facebook is now for old people. It's not for the young kids.
Well,
so we've had to learn how
You
to.
got Facebook, you got
Well,
TikTok, you
yeah,
got
we've had to learn about all these other things. We're learning.
It's the thing that I'm not such a huge fan but with the social media environment, everything is so competitive. If it's, you gotta have these numbers, you gotta, and in that sense, I kind of yearn for the old days where you just showed up and you played. If you were good, they'd book you.
Yeah.
But it's a different day. So
That is true, and that brings up something that I remember talking to Tony about, which is how a label like this, even just Rosa's as a place in the community, can expose new audiences and younger folks who might be more on social media to new music, and we're kind of going that direction. But I wonder what you all think about how the new record label and perhaps your new album in partnership can help get some new ears to your music and showcase some of the more, obviously someone like you with a deep history in Chicago to get some new folks to tune in.
yeah, this is Marni and Tony's effort is kind of filling a vacuum, because basically the artist is the last to know everything. I mean, you go down, even in this short interaction that we've had, Marni's identified, for example, royalties that I have been remiss in being aware that are due to me.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure many of my colleagues, friends, and just musicians in general face this similar situation, because there's so many ways that these monies are embedded and can be hidden, and you're just not aware. And having a legal mind, a brilliant legal mind brought to the table is clearly a great asset.
And she makes good arguments that have convinced some of the older generation here to be much more proactive and using social media as a voice.
Who are you talking about, older generation?
Well, I'm the same age as you, so I guess I'm in that included.
Great.
But yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just want to touch on the new album a little bit before we wrap up. What do you want to tell folks who might not know about your music, about this new album? If this is like the first time that they're going to hear your sound, what do you want to tell them, and maybe the journey of making it with this label?
Well, the album title is "The Blues Is My Biography," and it reflects more of my personal experiences in life and values. Like I said, we're really excited about it, and there's 11 songs. 9 of the 11 I wrote or co-wrote. Rosa and I wrote one together. Ronnie Baker Brooks and I wrote the single that's out that you just played. Ronnie, who's also stellar, very well known, one of the great guitar blues greats, songwriter, vocalist. We wrote "Begging for Change," which we feel that has the potential to become a global anthem, because, and again, at the Indivisible No Kings rally, it was featured. We kicked that off, the rally, by performing that. Myself and May Cohen sings background on the CD. So this is one of the interviewers I spoke with just yesterday described it as 21st century blues, because it's not what you would call a typical blues album. Yes, we have some examples of Chicago blues, but I have 4 social commentary songs on there. And we also have, one of them is in a reggae format.
Oh.
And we have some funk, and we have some, one blues could be called a hip-hop blues. I even have a short rap. Oh, Lord. That old guy trying to rap, but I have a short. So it's very different. It's very fresh. It's contemporary. And we're really happy as the way it came out.
Beautiful. Rose, anything to add?
Well, the title, "The Blues Is My Biography," of course, is talking about his life and his musical expression, but the blues is the soundtrack for African American existence, American history, and the lives of humanity. You know, the blues is our biography as well. So hopefully the music that is expressed on this album will represent music that people from many different walks of life can hold on to and embrace, because music not only expresses the soundtrack of our lives, but it's also often what we hold on to as humans. And I think elephants and gorillas like music too. But we hold on to this expression, this form of expression, as a part of our healing and sustenance as well.
It is a universal theme, and just like the song "Begging for Change," the whole world right now is literally and figuratively begging for change. And I think it's almost safe to say that the whole world has the blues right now, because they're not happy with their governance. They're not happy with their day-to-day living condition, with their economical situation, with their medical situation. And everybody's crying for this. And it seems that overall, their governments are not serving them the way they should be served.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you both. Very well said. Very timely. And so my last question is, when can we expect to hear this album? When is it dropping?
The official release date is November 7th, and we will have a performance release party at University of Chicago's Logan Center in Hyde Park on November 21st.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. We're going to mark our calendars for that event. So do we have time for some questions? All right, we're going to transition.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, no more.
Thank you.
We appear to have lost my husband.
You lost your husband? We'll find him.
All right. Let's hear it for Billy Branch, everyone, and Rosa. And thank you, Tony, for having us wherever you may be. I saw there's a message written in here that says "Follow your dreams," so I just wanted to share that for the record. So, and Ariel, thank you for doing this. You're amazing. I just had a question for Marni that came up, and people have been talking about it. So, and this links directly to what you shared, and thank you for what you're doing for artists and for Chicago. So, just the idea of freedom of expression, such a hot topic right now. We've got a great community within the Bar Association. What can artists do? What can people do right now in this moment? And how can we help, I guess?
Well, first, I just want to acknowledge Billy's courage. for doing that. And I don't mean, you have to be courageous to stand in front of 250,000 people and play. It's aligning yourself with the No Kings movement, is aligning yourself and speaking out against our government. And our government right now is a very forceful, militaristic, scary government, certainly from my point of view. So that took a lot of courage. And I think it's great. So from our perspective as a label, I think the way this relates to us is we're supporting him doing that. We have a license to the recording, right? And they played the recording at the rally, and Billy played harmonica over it, and May Cohen sang over the existing recording that's licensed to us. And so we, of course, supports that. And that goes back to something that Tony said more generally, just about putting out the music. That's another way that labels have controlled artists, is to say, no, we're not issuing that, we're not recording that, you can't say that. So we're not doing that, and we're certainly not doing it now. Everybody needs to be encouraged to say what it is they have to say. So I think that's very important. And then more generally, I hope there are resources out there. I don't know, if the ACLU or whomever is working, you don't really hear much about free speech issues other than book bans these days. Although I guess the assembly issues are very significant right now with the militaristic presence on our streets. And so I hope there are resources available.
Oh, that was a beautiful answer, Marni. Thank you. I had a question for Ariel. So thank you for doing this. I'm asking the reporter a question. Describe your journey with this story. How did it come about that you were writing the story, and then how do you feel right now, I guess?
How do I feel right now? Let's see. Well, I think, like I said, I have followed roses for a while. We've written about roses in the past. And so I saw a social media post, everything is very much, I think, Marni, you made a social media post about the record label, and kind of to your point about the current situation of our government and times. I'm always looking for some good news, and I loved that I heard this and saw this as a very local way to support local artists and all of the things we've already talked about. But yeah, that's what's good about my job, is I get to find hyper-local ways that the community is working together and to bring some more expression, especially music. I do love music as well. So yeah, the journey was uplifting, I think. And it's probably cliche to say that, but it's nice to hear a new venture like this that still has kind of impact in the community and impact for local artists, especially, like we were saying, folks who either need a bump or need to kind of learn more about our social media times and get more exposure. And I think that's what's exciting, is that now there's a whole new generation of folks who can get into new music or learn more about the history of blues in this case. So I'm glad this story is getting more attention, and I'm excited to see where the record label goes from here. And of course, excited for the album and what you might do with the archives of all the great musicians who performed on the stage. And I'm excited to be talking about it.
Oh, thank you so much.
I have one thing to add, if we have
Please.
1 minute. So a movement needs music. So I think I should have said that. I think that's the most important part of the answer to that question, is a movement has to have music. And music can add joy, because if 250,000 people had gone to Butler Field in Grant Park and violence had erupted, that would just be an opportunity to use the Insurrection Act and say this is an insurrection. And so music can bring joy and courage and a feeling of togetherness and solidarity. And so we need to be encouraging that and incorporating that into everything we do.
Excellent.
Yeah, well said.
Yes.
Love it.
Couldn't agree more. We have a couple of my musician friends in the house, all seated at a table, actually. in addition to Rain, we got Harry and John. So thanks for helping. Carmen, thank you. Tony, thank you. Marni, Ariel. So everybody for coming out, appreciate you. Thanks to everybody watching online. Rain, did we have any questions in the chat? None? Okay. I put this in the chat earlier, but keep supporting local venues, local musicians. Shout out Block Club. You guys do it for real.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And thank you to Marni for talking about this, sharing more of your story. And yeah, thank you all for watching and for being here.
Thanks for doing this.
All right, thanks.